Today is for anyone who has ever walked away from a conversation thinking I should have said something, or if you've ever nodded just to keep peace even though deep down in your heart you're not feeling satisfied. You feel like I should have given this conversation a bit more, I should have cleared my mind instead of just staying quiet for peace to reign. If you're someone who shies away from confrontation, who avoids rocking the boat but still want to stand up for yourself, this one is especially for you. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about navigating life with strength, softness, and strategy. Let's talk about how to advocate for yourself without becoming someone you're not. You know, there's this misconception that standing up for yourself means you have to be loud or aggressive or emotionally bulletproof, like have tough skin, but that's not true. Susan Cain, in her book Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, reminds us that there is zero correlation between being the best talker and having the best ideas. That really hits right, yes, because it resonates deeply with me, and I'm hoping it resonates with you. Just because you are not the loudest in the room doesn't mean your thoughts or needs are any less valid. It just means that your approach is different. And today we are going to explore how to use that quiet strength to advocate for yourself with kindness, with clarity, and confidence. So what does self-advocacy really mean? Let's start by getting one thing straight. Self-advocacy is not about confrontation. It's about clarity. It's about communicating your needs, your boundaries, and values, even when your voice shakes. And I get it, it's uncomfortable, yes, especially if you grew up in an environment where speaking up was discouraged, or if you've been labeled as too sensitive or too nice. But being non-confrontational doesn't mean you have to be invisible. As Brené Brown says in Daring Greatly, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. I love that because sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for others is to be clear. So what does that look like in real life? It means saying, I don't have the capacity to take on that right now, instead of automatically saying yes to every request, or that comment doesn't sit right with me, even if your voice is soft. It's those little moments of truth telling that adds up to a life where you are not constantly swallowing up your feelings. Another thing is knowing what you need. Here's the thing, you can't advocate for yourself if you don't actually know what you need. So grab a journal, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what are the situations where I usually feel small or silenced? What boundaries am I constantly pushing for others but never holding for myself? What do I need more of in my life? Space, respect, rest, what is it? And naming your need is the first act of self-advocacy. Even if you don't speak them out loud yet, naming them internally matters. The next thing is small but powerful phrases. Now let's get into practical stuff. How do you actually speak up when your natural instinct is to stay quiet? Here are a few low stress phrases that can help you self-advocate. There's some phrases you can use that can help you advocate for yourself. For example, let me get back to you on that. This is great for giving yourself space to think without committing on the spot. Or you can say things like, I hear you, but I see differently. This one allows for disagreement without aggression. Or you can say, that doesn't work for me. It is simple, it is respectful, but it is firm. Or you can say things like, can we revisit this another time? And this is quite useful when your emotions are high or you feel you're caught off guard, especially some of us that when people say things to us, it takes us a while to come up with an appropriate response. So this can give you time, especially when the thing said has triggered your emotions and you're feeling quite maybe teary or close to tears, and you're one that does not like speaking when you're about to cry. So this can give you time when your emotions are high or you feel a bit caught off guard. You can take these phrases like training wheels. You don't have to start with a full speech or a grand boundary. Just try inserting one of these lines into a conversation and see how it feels. In Radical Candor, Kim Scott wrote that challenging people is often the best way to show you care, and that applies to yourself. Challenging your own silence can be an act of deep self-respect. So next would be when you are in the moment. Let's say you're in the middle of a situation and you're feeling, that familiar anxiety, the urge to shrink or stay silent. What then do you do? Here's 3 simple strategies that can help you in such a situation. 1, take a pause. Take a breather. Just taking a deep breath. Buy yourself a second to gather your thoughts. The next step would be to acknowledge. It's okay to name what's happening, and you can say to yourself, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now and I need a moment to think. The next step would be to respond and redirect. So depending on the moment, either you speak your truth or you can say, can we come back to this at some other time, because I want to give you the attention it deserves. Remember, you're not performing, but you're protecting your peace and you're protecting your space. The next tip would be writing your boundaries first. If you're speaking up in real time, sometimes that feels too hard. You can try starting with writing, like send an email, or write a note, or even draft something in your journal just to get it out of your head. The author Cheryl Strayed in Tiny Beautiful Things says, boundaries teach people how to treat you, and they teach you how to respect yourself. And here's the thing about writing. It lets you practice your voice without pressure. You can try scripting what you want to say. Literally write, like, what I want to say is da 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 da, and just let it flow. You'd be surprised by how much clarity comes from putting pen to paper. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is how to deal with pushbacks. Okay, sometimes when you start advocating for yourself, people would push back because, of course, they are not used to seeing you in that light. They're used to you shrinking away and being quiet and taking everything. So some people would push back, especially if they're used to you being always agreeable, and this can be jarring. You might get things like, oh, you've changed, or why are you being so difficult? But let's reframe that. What they're actually really saying to you is that you are no longer prioritizing my comfort over your well-being. And right there is growth. As Ben Hook writes in All About Love, love is an action, never simply a feeling. Advocating for yourself is an act of love, not just for you, but for your relationships, because healthy connections are built on honesty and not appeasement. So the next thing we're going to talk about is finding your support system. Now, if you're just learning or just starting to speak up more, it helps to have people in your corner, a friend that you can text after a tough conversation, maybe if you have a therapist or a group that you belong to where you can easily say, oh, I finally said no today, something like that. You need to build your community, because community gives you courage. Even if you're the quiet one, you deserve to be heard, and sometimes it takes hearing yourself through someone else's encouragement to actually believe it. I remember at workplace I hated the environment. At some point during one of my postings, I hated the environment where I was working because I felt my boss, my supervisor, was not being kind to me, and I was so scared to speak up for myself because I hated confrontations. And even though I knew that the environment was toxic, it was draining, I was panicking. Anytime I had the thoughts of going to work, I would panic. And I spoke to my hobby, I spoke to friends, and I think that sort of gave me courage I couldn't speak up face to face to the person, but I explored other means to make my situation better. And you know what, that's okay. Sometimes advocating for yourself you may not necessarily have to do it through face-to-face conversation. You can do it through writing, through sending emails, through sending text messages. Any way you can express yourself more comfortably, you can utilize those avenues to advocate for yourself. So that brings me to the next step, which is celebrate the small wins. Every time you speak up, even if it's just to say, actually, I don't want Thai food tonight, That's a win. Celebrate that. You don't have to make big dramatic changes overnight. Every moment you honor your needs, even in small ways, you're building a stronger relationship with yourself. Brené Brown writes in The Gifts of Imperfection that authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. You don't need to become someone else to be heard. You just need to be fully you. So my friend, if you've ever felt like your voice didn't matter, or that speaking up would make people feel like you're too much, let me remind you, you're allowed to take up space. Yes, you're allowed to take up space. Advocating for yourself doesn't mean being confrontational, like I've said. It means being courageous. And courage doesn't always row. Sometimes it's a quiet sentence that says, "This matters to me." So speak up. Even if your voice shakes, start small. Be clear, be kind, and most importantly, be on your own side. Love yourself and respect yourself. All right, my lovelies, thanks for watching. If this video resonated with you, please drop your comment below. Just share your experiences when it comes to advocating for yourself, and share this video with a friend who might need a little nudge towards self-advocacy. And remember, you don't have to be loud to be powerful. You just have to be true to you. I'll see you guys in my next video. Until next time, bye.